Hello dear students, I hope you all are doing well. As I had mentioned you yesterday that now we will start with our novel. The last aspect as far as your creative writing is concerned, the last topic that we are left with is the novel by R.K. Narayan, that is The Dark Room. Okay, so I will give you a brief introduction about the novel, and as I had already told you that the discussion of the detailed discussion, let me say, the detailed discussion will be done of the whole novel at your end. Okay, we will start with that next week. Till that time, I will give you a brief introduction as well as some ideas that are associated with the novel The Dark Room by R.K. Narayan. So before we start that, in this course, that is the course Creative Writing in English, we studied about literary forms, right? And we studied about novel also. I had given you yesterday questions for revision as to what a novel is, what is a setting, who are the characters, or what is characterization, and what is the setting of the novel. Right now, this is very important to understand how the novel has been developed. Right now, we have studied that a novel is a long work of fiction telling a story in a real or imaginary setting involving characters who interact with one another, right? And on the basis of E.M. Forster's book Aspects of the Novel, we have studied the various aspects as far as novel is concerned, which are plot, characters, setting and the point of view, right? So dark room भी हम उन्हीं basis पे उसी categorization पे we will study dark room also. Now to begin with the novel, first of all, let me tell you something about the author R.K. Narayan. He's a very famous writer. We all know about it, famous Indian writer. And if you all are in a habit of reading, you must have read something good about R.K. Narayan. And if you people have interest in literature, and if you know more about English literature, you must be knowing that R.K. Narayan is associated with one of the most popular series which we have seen in our times, you know, when we were school going students. So do you remember? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes, I'm talking about Malgudi Days, right? So we have seen a lot of it and we have learned so much from it. Now, anything that is an adaptation from any work of literature always teaches you something or the other. आप किसी भी तरह की रीडिंग करते हैं, it always enhances your ability to see things, you know, it enhances your creativity, it enhances your thought process, let me say that, right? So moving ahead, R.K. Narayan, a famous Indian English writer, was born in 1906 in Madras, which is now what? Chennai. In the initials in his name, you know, R.K. Narayan, if you know or if you have friends who are from the south, the first name is of their village, the second name is of the father, and then is their name. So R means Rasipuram, which is the name of his village to which he belonged, and K stands for Krishnaswamy, his father's name. It is a custom in some communities in south to attach the name of one's place and father to one's name. Even Narayan in R.K. Narayan is Narayan Swami. अगर मालगुडी डेज देखा है तो उसमें देखा होगा, स्वामी एंड फ्रेंड्स पढ़ी है तो उसमें भी आपको पता होगा कि his full name is Narayan Swami. As the writer preferred to write his name as R.K. Narayan, he is famous by this name in India and in abroad. Narayan got his early education at his father's school. Now, why I'm reading the bio, मैंने आपको last year poetry भी पढ़ाई है. I never entered into detail, but then as far as poetry is concerned or a story is concerned, writer's bio has not much to do with those works, you know. But as far as fiction is concerned, as far as novel is concerned, there is, I must say, it is important for us to know about a little bio about the author. Okay, so he got his education at his father's school. He was not good at studies. He completed his education somehow in 1930. He had to take up jobs, first as a clerk and then as a teacher, to support his family. Despite his backwardness in studies, he had great flair for writing. We can see that, no? And his only ambition was to become a writer. He had never thought of making money by his writings. He only desired to express himself well in whatever he wrote. As he was not an academician, he was close to common people around him. He was an acute observer of men and manners. It helped him greatly in weaving stories quite realistically. So, you know, what do we learn from this? That to be a writer, you need not have grades A plus, S plus, O plus, or you need not have a high percentage. You should not have to be outstanding in the school. You shouldn't have great academic record. What is important is that you should have that art. And art of what? Art of making stories, weaving stories. हम making generally नहीं बोलते हैं, we use weaving stories. That ability a writer must have, right? And he had that. Narayan met his future wife accidentally in 1935 and he felt at once in love with her. The girl, Rajam, was then 18 and he himself was 28, 10 years of gap. It was on his assistance that his father approached the girl's father with the proposal. The Pandit predicted the marriage would prove to be inauspicious for the girl. The prediction proved to be sadly true. Despite this prediction, the marriage took place. Rajam proved to be a good, inspiring partner for Narayan, even though she did not know English. She gave birth to a child named Hema. In 1939, she died, leaving her husband in great grief. Narayan was unable to write for several years. When his wife was still alive, he wrote 3 novels. Swami and His Friends, The Bachelor of Arts. Please पढ़िएगा आप इस novel को ज़रूर, The Bachelor of Arts. In 1938 and in 1939, he wrote The Dark Room. After his wife's death, he could write and publish some short stories only. So he just wrote short stories after the death of his wife. His next novel, this is again also very interesting if you have read The English Teacher. If you have not read, try to read it please. Then came his best novel, Mr. Sampath, Financial Expert, Guide. हिंदी में देखी होगी सबने movie. Man Eater of Malgudi, Vendor of Sweets is again very interesting. The famous Devanand turned his novel The Guide into a memorable film. The TV serial Malgudi Days, a collection of his stories, appeared in 1941, made him very popular among the masses. The Guide won him Sahitya Akademi Award. He was honored with Padma Bhushan in 1964 and Padma Vibhushan in 2001 for his contribution in which place? In which area? Literature, of course. He was also nominated as a member of Rajya Sabha, that is the upper house of the parliament, and he is still read with interest. He is still read. People read a lot about, or people read a lot of R.K. Narayan, and he passed away in 2002. Right? So this is a little bio as far as R.K. Narayan is concerned. Now, if I have to talk about the novel, the main character is, of course, the protagonist is Savitri. She is a typical example of a housewife who has been conditioned to obey her husband in totality. No arguments, no raising questions, always ready to face the rebuke and the reprimands of her husband. So, what is the problem with her? That she never spoke up. Okay, so she is the protagonist, Savitri is the protagonist. Next character is Ramani, her husband. He is a senior executive in Englandia Insurance Company in Malgudi. So, यहाँ से आपको क्या पता चलता है that the setting of the novel is Malgudi. Then they have 3 children, Babu, the boy, Sumati and Kamla, right? Every character for that matter has a significant role. इस नॉवल में हम ये नहीं बोल सकते that we have round characters. Almost all the characters, especially our protagonist Savitri, is a flat character, no development at all. Then important characters are Shantabai and of course Gangu and Jamuna, friends of Savitri. Now, I told you about Savitri, what kind of a person she is, what kind of wife she is. She's a very caring and loving mother. Of course, a loving wife also, but then she has been conditioned in a setup which we call a male-dominated society, a society in which patriarchy has been imbibed in the minds of men as well as women. The title, you see, The Dark Room, right? From where the title comes. This dark room is actually a small dark room where Savitri always goes. She takes a recline to that room. She closes herself, shuts her up in that room and doesn't come out. Every time her husband shouts at her, every time her husband scolds her, every time she is not able to make things happen her way. चीज़ें उसकी तरीके से नहीं होती हैं. जब भी whenever things are not happening her way, she will not argue with her husband. She will not fight with her husband. Rather, she reclines to this dark room and she will sulk like a child in that dark room. And this, obviously, mother is behaving this way, then it will naturally be going to the children also, right? So there are many instances which tell us basic attitude of Savitri and how Ramani treats her. He may be loving husband, but then the respect that a wife demands, even deserves, let me not say just demand, a wife deserves respect, you know. So that is not given to Savitri by Ramani. To add to that, this man, Ramani, he enters into an affair with one of her newly elected or colleague, you know, whom he has only interviewed and selected in his company, and her name is Shantabai. With the passage of time, Savitri comes to know about this affair, and do you think she has the courage to speak up to her husband, to question him that why the second woman, why are you with her? Why don't you come home why do you come home late in the morning on Sundays? Even the milkman notices things, right? People in the town know things. And Savitri ko bhi one of her friends come and tell that this is the talk of the town. Your husband's affair is the talk of the town. And you don't know anything about, you're not doing anything about, and actually she has not been able to do anything. And the stupid step that she takes is she leaves the house. Now, uh, I will not discuss the concluding part because that will spoil the interest of the novel. We will read the novel and we will find out actually what happens. Uh, has Savitri left the house to kill herself? Has she gone to her parents? So, is she thinking that will Ramni come and apologize and he will come and take her back? First of all, the point is what she has decided, what she is gonna do by taking the extreme step of leaving the house. Is she thinking that her husband will somehow be little considerate about certain things? That is what we have to find out after the reading of the novel, right? Now, if I talk about the aspects, on the basis of which we had studied our novel as a literary form. Now, the first thing, plot. Of course, the novel has a single plot. There are no deviations. If we want to say, we can say that Shantabai is a subplot that has been added to the main plot. Then the characters, we have all flat characters. I have already discussed that with you in the beginning when I talked about Savitri. Almost all characters are flat characters. None has grown as a character. None has developed a thought. None of the characters has a change of thought. Let me put it that way. And as far as the point of view or the narrator is concerned, we'll not say that Savitri is telling her story, but there is an omniscient narrator. There is a third person point of view that we see in the novel. And as far as setting is concerned, that I've already told you, the setting is Malgudi. Okay, so these are the parameters on which we will be studying the novel. I have given you the introduction. Now, on your part, pick up one chapter. I have already divided the chapters, already divided the task with you people. You will pick up the events. What are the events? Say, for example, in the first chapter, what has happened? Obviously, the first thing is that we are introduced to almost all the important characters in the very first chapter. The first chapter is the introduction of the novel, kind of. And what are the episodes that take place in the novel? That is what the person who has been assigned with chapter 1 will discuss. Okay, to give you a start, tomorrow I will discuss with you, maybe let us say the first chapter. I think Anish is supposed to do the first chapter, so you do it your way. Tomorrow I will just make a beginning to start with, so that you all have an idea what has to be done, right? So I hope I have been able to introduce, let me say not make, I hope I have been able to introduce the novel to you. And some of you who are fond of the novel must have read the whole text. I'll be glad if you people read the text. Literature में value जो चीज़ है ना, वो text की होती है. गाइड्स और ये सबसे कुछ नहीं होता है. आपने आर के नारायण की बायो पढ़ी आज, तो इवन यू गॉट टू नो दैट इट्स नॉट अबाउट knowledge, it's not about your academics, it's all about the creative zest, the creative talent that is there in you. आप उसको recognize कर पाओ. Okay, so that is all for the introduction of the novel. We meet again. Thank you so much. Take care.